Welcome to the 14th video in the Colored Pencil course, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com, Portrait Drawing Part 2. In this module, we'll continue our look at portrait drawing with colored pencils. The focus of this module will be on the nose. However, slight adjustments will be made to the eyes as well. The illusion of a nose in a drawing is created primarily from value relationships. It is important to consider that receding areas will generally be darker in value, while protruding areas will be lighter. Strong lines are seldom found on noses. Instead, gradual transitions in value are mostly present. For this reason, multiple layers of related hues will be built up slowly in order to create the desired illusion. Using beige will bring the skin tone down over the area of the nose, being sure to preserve areas of highlight that are observed from the reference. This is a medium to light application. In order to create the illusion of the nose, we'll pay attention to the receding areas, which will generally be darker in value, and the protruding areas, which will generally be lighter in value. As colors and values of colors are added to the surface, we'll want to make sure that the areas that recede receive darker values, and the areas that protrude receive lighter values. We'll begin by establishing some of the darker areas using light umber. The skin tones that we're going to create in these areas will be gradually built up with a series of medium to light applications. These gradual applications will be burnished as we go. We'll continue to layer values and colors and burnish the layers, repeating this process until we arrive at a skin tone that is acceptable. We'll focus on establishing the darker values initially and slowly build our way up to the lighter values. This is why we're starting with the light umber. This will allow us to have full control over the darker areas. Always remember that it's going to be easier to make an area darker if need be, although it's going to be very difficult to make an area lighter if you accidentally make it too dark. For this reason, we're going to gradually build up the darker values. After the initial application of light umber is added, we'll burnish this using the beige with a heavy application. By burnishing in between each layer with the beige, it allows us to have complete control over the range of value, allowing us to gradually build up those values. There are a few areas that have a bit of a red tone associated with them, and to address these areas we'll use sienna brown, which will also affect the value since it's slightly darker than the base tone. Again, very soft applications are made here so that we have complete control over the value and hue that is associated with the area that it's applied in. We'll also burnish these areas using the base tone of beige. We can now get a bit more aggressive with the darker areas of value. Here we'll use dark umber to begin to push those values a bit darker. The areas that we'll focus on initially with the dark umber are the areas on the side of the nose, the areas just inside of the eyes, and right underneath the nose. These are the primary areas that recede. Again, we'll burnish these applications so that there's a gradual change in value. By burnishing, we're also helping to eradicate any texture that might be left by the tooth of the paper. This will help create a more natural looking skin texture. The process of laying down dark umber to produce darker values and burnishing these areas continues. Each time the value gets progressively darker. Approaching the nose in this manner will allow us to create those smooth transitions of value and hue that are necessary for realism. Peach is used here to add a bit more of a natural tone to the area. A heavier application of peach is used here, which will cause some of the colors to mix and burnish on the surface. This color is further burnished using beige. We'll also go ahead and establish the highlighted areas now with a white. A heavy application is applied here to put an ample amount of wax to protect these areas from subsequent applications of darker values. With initial areas of darker value established, we can start to focus on creating more natural looking hues, starting with ginger root and peach as well as cream. These colors exist in several different areas on the nose. We'll also revisit light umber. Beige is continually used to burnish these areas as they are applied. Light peach is also used. Now we can make the shadow underneath the nose piercing just a bit darker with dark umber. We also apply a bit of 70% cool gray and just a touch of indigo blue for a stronger shadow. Now we can focus on the shadows just underneath the nose. These are initially addressed with an application of dark umber. And just like the other areas, these are subsequently burnished using beige. We'll continue to make adjustments to the hues and values that are observed by slowly manipulating the color. For example, sienna brown is layered, and on top, peach is used to make the adjustment. Underneath the nose, darker values are added and then burnished using the beige. We'll also do the same with the lighter values. Here, white is used to burnish some areas that have already been laid down, gradually lightening the values of those colors. Dark umber is used in a similar fashion to darken areas of value. Here, a bit is laid just to the right of the nose piercing and just inside of the left eye. These areas again are burnished. Some additional work needs to be done to the recesses of the eyes. Now that we have the initial application of the nose in place, we can start to make adjustments to the recesses in the areas of the eyes and make them darker. Making these areas slightly darker will make them seem like they recede further, which will in turn make the nose feel like it protrudes more. As values and hues on the face become more solidified, it's easier to make comparisons between them. In this case, I noticed that the sides of the nose need to be darkened a bit. This is accomplished using dark umber, but this time these areas are burnished using a colorless blender so that the values are not affected. A bit more warmth is added using sienna brown, and then subsequently burnished using a colorless blender. There are small blemishes on the nose, and it's important to include these as well. These are added using dark umber. A colorless blender is then used to work them into the surface. The colorless blender is also used to smooth out other areas around the eye. So what did we discuss in this module? We continued our look at portrait drawing with colored pencils by focusing on the nose. We learned that the nose consists of gradual changes in value and hue opposed to strong lines of heavy contrast. This is accomplished with deliberate but slow applications. We also learned that areas that protrude are generally lighter in value, while areas that recede are darker in value. In the next video, we'll take a look at the mouth.